Rack and roll. Shadows of Centris. Coming to in a prison cell surrounded by your sisters in arms is a bad start to a day. The lights going from a comforting dim to a full blast bright is even worse as it wakes everyone up. There's a sensation of axiom. The space here has been massively expanded to accommodate them all. Their cell is small and cramped. They're all unarmed but wearing their clothing. Their armor has been removed, and aside from some tenderness and mild bruising, everyone seems fine. The thick metal bars suddenly let out a clank that gets those who weren't immediately stirring to stand. A section of the bars pull away with another clank and then slide to the side to leave them a way out. "Follow the yellow arrows," a male voice says over the speakers. "What happened?" someone asks. "You were misinformed and made a poor choice. Follow the yellow arrows, please." The voice over the speakers continues. "Should you be cooperative and non-violent, then your weapons and armor will be returned to you when you exit the vessel." That was motivation enough for most people to start moving, and it's nothing short of a shock to see just how many women were imprisoned in this small section. Hundreds upon hundreds of girls are leaving the cells, and the yellow arrows are merely tape on the walls pointing to the left. The arrows lead them through the corridors of a ship. What had happened for them to be in a spaceship and not on Centris? Or are they in the deeper depths of a lower spire? The sheer reinforcement the superstructures need down there makes the internals very cramped places to be. The arrows lead into a massive cargo bay with rows upon rows of cushions for everyone to sit on and a projector screen down and lowered. On walkways above are heavily armed and armored figures. The cast of the shoulders and chest suggests men, but they don't even have a single flake of skin exposed. So they could just be remote-piloted drones. Of course, a drone like that means it can't be intimidated and has no self-preservation instincts beyond the desire to take care of a weapon. She stays with her herd, keeping track of those around her. The more timid and tactical members are at the middle of the formation for protective purposes. Entire slithering hordes of Nagasha, flights of Sonir, and many Canador thugs are prowling around to find a spot. A countdown begins on the projector screen, and everyone scrambles to find out where the best cushions are. They're all uniformed, though, so a few brawls break out pointlessly as people try to cluster together in proper groups. Shouts and threats from the men on the walkways above are used to break them up, although a warning shot with a laser does have to be fired. The countdown concludes, and the lights of the cargo bay dim somewhat and the screen lights up. It cuts to show a series of cutaway screens with a pair of times on them. It reads 11:45 on the left side, and below a small caption that clearly reads, "Current time is 3:20. The 3:20 then shifts to 3:21. The screen breakup is in 9 areas. The top 3 panels shows a very amused-looking Canador woman, a metak with ritual scars crisscrossing parts of her face, and a 9-bodied Lydris who's in business casual across the board. The row below shows a handsome and aged man who's very familiar to everyone who's been paying even slight attention to galactic news as Admiral Cistern. Next is a Tret woman with the title "The Accused" above her, and to the left is a panel stating "Legal Advisement." It's currently blank and black. The bottom 3 rows are also blank. First stating witness, second evidence, and the third is another legal advisement panel. "And we've begun. Now," Admiral Cistern begins to speak. "You can't do this. I have rights. Madame Olifas starts to scream, and her panel is muted almost immediately. "We will be undergoing these proceedings at a reasonable level of volume. Those that yell or scream will be muted for 2 minutes, as will those who are unnecessarily crass or vulgar." Admiral Cistern continues smoothly. "The point of today's procedure is to set up a fair legal precedent according to galactic standards and expectations. These affairs will be publicly released and not redacted in any way. For the sake of both brevity and comprehension, will each of our 3 volunteer judges please introduce themselves and summarize the events this trial pertains to in their own words? I'll go first. The Metak calls out with glee. I'm Rasbarrel Bluewing. I represent the Garuka cluster. 7 planets around 2 stars stuffed to the gills with deadly wildlife. Awesome place to live, better place to party. Olephus there fucked around and found out. That's what happened. Not how I would put it. I am Elizabeth Many Minds. The Lydris introduces herself. I represent the Silic Initiative, a protective legal polity consisting entirely of space stations adjacent to the primary galactic lanes, while many individuals consider these stations nothing more than a refueling depot or pit stop. The fact of the matter is that these facilities house significant permanent populations and are a contributing and important part of galactic infrastructure. The concern of the day is that Madame Olephas, an individual with a long history of semi-legal harassment of her business rivals and others, has crossed a severe line and inadvertently declared war on a military government. She did this through proxy agitation by whispering rumors to numerous criminal gangs, neighborhood watches, and volunteer militias on Centris. The end result is that there are dozens of deaths and many millions, if not billions, of credits in property damage. Negotiations were attempted and a peaceful resolution was refused, resulting in her apprehension and today's judgment. During Elizabeth's entire speech, there's a slow scrolling of numerous listings of events goes by with dates attached. If that's what you call a summarization, I'd hate to hear a comprehensive lecture. The Canador states, I'm Khan Megan Bloodfeast, Grand Ruler of the Centris Crimson Hewer tribes. To keep things simple, Olephus thought it would be funny to screw around with the humans, and when they started screwing back, she pushed way too far, way too fast, got people killed, and kicked off a war. She was given a chance to stop all the madness and all but spat in the face of the one giving her that chance. Now she's facing a fun little thing called consequences. Thank you all for being here. I understand you all have busy schedules and often do not have time for things such as this. Admiral Cistern says with a gentle smile, It is my duty and pleasure to help set galactic policy. That the undaunted are open to being influenced by others and listening to their input speaks well of your people. Elizabeth Many Minds states, Now before my appointment as representative, I served judicially and would now like to call this impromptu court into proper session. I recognize and acknowledge the wisdom and experience of Khan Bloodfeast in solving legal matters where great violence occurred, and Representative Bluewing's experience in threat containment and dealing with cooperate entities acting in unusual manners. Would the defendant like to speak for herself? I want my lawyer, Madame Olephas says bitterly. Certainly. Which one? You have several employed, Admiral Cistern asks. All of them. You tortured me, Olephas spits out. I did no such thing. Admiral Cistern denies. Yes, you did. Madame Olephas, you are advised to only speak after consulting your attorney, Elizabeth says in a stern tone. Admiral Cistern, is there any validity in her accusations of torture? I call to witness Madame Stepanova, the agent responsible for Madame Olephas's incarceration and detention until this point. Admiral Cistern states, and one of the black screens is suddenly filled with the image of a very old woman. She's sitting on a plain chair and leaning heavily on a cane. State your name for the record, please. Elizabeth Many Minds begins. Certainly, young lady. I am Anastasia Stepanova, a formerly retired officer in the Russian military. I am a specialist in interrogation and counterintelligence operations. Did you do it? Rasbarrel snaps out and Anastasia laughs. Not to this soft little ninny. I just had to read a book and occasionally look at her for this overgrown child to squirm like I was approaching her with dental pliers and thumb screws. If she were any softer, she'd qualify as a liquid. The old witch says around her cackles. If all my session were so easy, I'd have a great deal less stress wrinkles and ulcers. Ah, but fewer fond memories, Sir Philip says, walking into screen and handing her a cup of tea. True enough. I hope that bullet scar still itches, she says to him. Only when I think of you. He replies, touching a space a little above where his heart is. So old and still so shameless a flirt. Madame Stepanova shakes her head in near wonder at that. Get Rejuve treatment, you two. Then you can fuck proper. The rest of Representative Bluewing's rant is cut off by the mute feature. She compensates with very suggestive hand motions and clearly mouthing out her words to show her opinion that the old spy and interrogator should get back into their 20s and go through all the positions. Her screen goes black with a 2-minute-long countdown beginning. I think that's enough of that. We have your lawyers of Systematic Solutions waiting to join the call, and they have been given a full download of all relevant data. The relevant black panel suddenly opens up to show a synthetic woman with a look of near panic on her face. I call for a recess so I may discuss my client's defense, the lawyer immediately calls out. Very good. We will allow you a half hour to discuss, Elizabeth Mannymind says, and everything wings out to state recess on the screen. The lights start glowing brighter again, and to the right one of the larger men in power armor starts banging on the rail. May I have your attention, please? May I have your attention, please? He calls out. When he sees that almost everyone is looking at him, he nods. To answer your questions before everyone starts shouting them, we are showing you this so you understand what is going on. Yes, this information is being publicly released as well, so you can confirm it at a later date. Where's a me? Someone shouts. Unfortunately, there were not insignificant casualties and injuries when your organizations came into conflict with the Undaunted. I do not have a ready list as to who has died and who has lived, the man calls out. What you are witnessing is the legal judgment of the woman who set you people on us and is ultimately responsible for us clashing. I need to pee, someone shouts, and there's a touch of laughter at the crudeness. Right. There are some nearby facilities you can use. The door where the lights are turning blue will be unlocked in a few moments, and the white arrows will point to the toilet facilities. We'll start things up again after everyone's had time to use them. After the case, there will be a meal for all of you. Then we give back the confiscated weapons and equipment by group and we let you go. Are there any questions? You looking for a girlfriend, big man? Someone shouts, and there's some laughter. Good to know that the trauma level's good and low, the human says. Anyways, before anyone asks about all this such as the whys and such, we believe that we're going to have enough enemies, problems, and issues without looking for more trouble, so making sure we don't make extra today is just a smart policy. How long will this take? Someone shouts. A couple of hours at most. The case was over pretty quick. What was the verdict? Another demands. You really want me to spoil the ending? The man asks incredulously. Yes. A good and loud chunk of the room screams up at him. Bitch be guilty as fuck. The rest I won't spoil for you. The soldier explains, slamming the railing as he says fuck to add to the impact. There are some cheers and laughter. Roll call, girls, is everyone here? She asks her fellow muffies, and there's a bit of a smile. Yes, we all survived. You were a little too entranced by the court proceedings to pay attention as we did a quick head count. The wool gatherers are all accounted for. Does anyone have any idea how those insane humans hit us that hard? I was being held hostage by the big one at the time, she demands, and there's a shaking of her sister-in-arm's head. No, there were bombs out of nowhere when we were bombarding those three. They stunned us and then spread an obscuring gas. Before most of us could shake off the stun, they were out cold. They had good axiom control and a powerful knockout effect. What we do know is that they hit us from both sides, from behind both the anvil and the hammer. They ambushed the ambush? That's insane. They only brought in 2 more people. I was the last one to fall. It was just two, but they didn't even have to see you in order to dodge your shots. They used almost no axiom, only to knock you out. It shouldn't be possible to get that kind of speed or reflexes without axiom, but they barely used any, almost none. I think we should be friendly with these humans. The stories are proving to be accurate. Right. Well, I don't know about you, Jackie, but I'm about to burst. I'm going to see if their toilets are as terrifying as their combat abilities. Good luck, Eve, Jackie says with a grin.